Greetings, all you sophisticats and hipsters. Welcome back to ORA Shorts. As you know, this is our weekly series of short product presentations and hack attacks. As always, we remind you to please check out O'Blaney Rinker's YouTube page. This is where we store our library of all of these presentations and some of the others that we've put together for you. Additionally, want to share that ORA is now supporting City Harvest. City Harvest is New York City's largest food resource organization, rescue organization, helping to feed nearly 1.2 million New Yorkers that struggle to put food on the table. Please consider this amazing organization when considering where to place your donation dollars. Now, a few housekeeping notes about the presentation. We mute everybody till we get to the Q&A portion of DJ's presentation. If you'd like to change the arrangement on your screen, you can use the speaker view option on your screen. During this presentation, we keep the chat bar open, so if a question pops up, which we hope you have plenty of, you can just enter it into the chat bar and we'll answer those when we get to the end. I want you to know that typically we don't illuminate luminaires during these presentations because it's our experience that actual light doesn't translate to virtual light very well. However, we're going to make an exception for a few products today and want to remind you, if you see something you want to see a sample of, contact us, contact me, contact your rep. It's all about getting these in your hands so you can see what they're about when you hold them. Just ask. And lastly, for those of you who are sort of Terpsichorean fans, Yesenia, Jesse's going to lift the veil on salsa dancing. So please stick around for that right after DJ's presentation. Now, for the feature, I'm going to introduce Dado Lighting, specialists in low-profile fixtures that allow the ultimate in creative designs. Fixtures, the thickness of sheetrock is the motto, but really that's just the fuse for this dynamic, no boundaries, no limits manufacturing dynamo, and proudly made in the US of A. So now, without further ado, here is my esteemed colleague, DJ Zeobro. Take it away, DJ.
Thanks, James. Greetings, everybody from Atlanta, down here avoiding all of the COVID. I am the official designated survivor of Dado, where, as you know, everything's made in the USA right outside of Chicago. So let's get right into the updates. First and foremost, you know we make fixtures, as James said, the thickness of drywall. We've now expanded the lens widths. We do a 4-inch and even a 6-inch wide version of our products, so you can have a little more fun with your patterns. In the dead side version, we've always had it where we either chopped off the one mud flange, or as you see here, we turn it 90 degrees. So for like going up an outside corner, well, especially when we get into the 6-inch version, we needed to come up with a way of hiding the LEDs on both sides. So we now have a way of going down the wall. We call this the mud-in wall. So imagine you have a line of light along the wall. Your LEDs could be on this side. This side can either have a additional mud flange, or it can turn up like the version I have, or we can do LEDs on both sides to do warm dim in all but our thinnest product now. In the GridLine product, like everything, I don't know if we have anybody in the line from Susan Brady's office, but we had a need for doing a line of light right along the edge of a vertical soffit. So the traditional way we did a mud flange was with the GridLine, we would put the vinyl corner bead or mud flange on the side, but we needed to put, in this case, drywall going vertical and then extend the mud all the way down the front. So now what we have is our MFP mud flange, which basically just means it's perpendicular to the lens. It's got a tearaway bead, so they can mud right down to it, tear this away, and that leaves you with just that standard 1/8-inch lip right on the edge of the lens. So more options for mud flange. And then in our GridLine or HardLine product, that's always been 1 3/4 inches deep. We've come out with a 3-inch version called the HardLine Shallow, which is 1.5 inches deep. We've basically shaved off a 1/2 inch by getting rid of the wireway out of it. What that means is that in order to do this, there's either a J-box on the back, or the wire would come out just as a pigtail, kind of like our cabinet line, and that would go to a jumper cable within the plenum or chase. But this came up for a couple of jobs where they wanted to have 2 layers of drywall, and then the other one was a layer of drywall with a layer of tile on front of it. And that was all the depth they had. We all know how we do the lift line for our elevator stuff, and we allow you to tie into the call signals. Well, now we've come up with these little puck lights, and the puck lights can be incorporated within the housing of the lift line. Anything that's 3-inch, 4-inch, or 6-inch wide. It's a 2-inch, 2.5-inch diameter puck, and it can be red, green, blue, white, and tie into your call signal. But this whole thing would line up or light up as white or whatever color you want it to be, and then the puck lights come on to indicate the up or down elevators. Then with our mirror line product, we always had it where you put the mirror on the front, and people had big mirrors they didn't want to have to take off to access the fixture. So we had created the TW3, which allows you to have the lens sitting proud, 3/8 of an inch, and the mirror abutting the side. Initially, it was only in the 1.5-inch wide. Now it's in all of the different widths. So you can add a lens that sits proud, whether that's for the mirror or any of your products out there. On the lenses, we can now print graphics. We have a printer in-house, so you're not paying a setup charge for every single lens that's going to have a different room number or whatever it is on it. The other thing is the way that this is done, it's the same printing you would do on golf balls. So they put the ink on it. It then goes under a UV light, and that impregnates it into the lens, so it's not going to flake or chip off. In fact, we can also do actual Braille raised dots on this, so you can tie some of your ADA signage right into your lighting alongside rooms or whatever you want to do. It doesn't have to be black and white. It can be color. And if those that are wondering why it has 4 characters when it's 3 numbers, that's because in Braille, when you're doing numbers, the first character tells you it's a sequence of numbers that's following it, for those that are trivia minded. Carl, can you bring up our first slide? I want to show you how we've changed doing field cuts. So the challenge with any sort of field cut is getting the proper measurements back from the field. We would get those originally, and we didn't know exactly where the contractor had registered the measurement off of. So now what we're doing is actually putting a ruler label, a piece of tape in with all the little tick marks on it. Within that label is actually the job number and the location panel number. So all they have to do is, after this is installed, they take a photo with their phone, email that into us. We've got additional labels that tells them where to send it, and then we know exactly what length to make the panel to and get it out expeditiously to the field. From there, I want to jump into some of the cool things we've been doing. This was a job down in Texas, and they wanted, instead of our typical arrow point, just a pointed lens, a 3-legged arrow, which we came up with a way of doing that without having any shadows or darkness within it. And take a sip here. We'll go to the next slide. We had a really fun job where they wanted to mix colors with white and blue and red, but have the colors sort of stop. And sometimes the white, as you see, went through, sometimes the red went through. The challenge for us is, as you know, we do a light guide panel which blends all the diodes together. Well, in this case, we'd have gotten pink in the middle. So what we did is, within the lens, we actually put little barriers to keep the light from bleeding into it. You also may have noticed how it was all welded together. That way the contractor isn't spinning forever aligning stuff. When he gets that hub out, it pops in the ceiling, and the end result, as you see here, is crisp lines dividing the color for some fun. And then we're doing a job out in California. It was a series of apartments, and each elevator lobby has either one line that goes wall to ceiling for the first floor, second floor has 2 lines. On the 4th penthouse floor, they did the P&H. And this is just a great example of what you can do with a fixture being the thickness of drywall, because obviously they're concerned about earthquakes in California. If they had to notch that much of the load-bearing joist, it would have been structurally unsound. Of course, we don't go into the joist. And next, there we go. Now this is, I just like to point this out because everybody's always had these horrific jobs where they've done it with tape light, and anytime you shrink the fixture down to be the height of drywall or thickness of drywall, those diodes, and when they're pulled apart, that shadow between them becomes really evident. The nice thing about us is, since we're doing all of the feeding and the LED boards are off to the side, we don't get shadows. Rather, you get stuff like this. But of course, then we start getting into more crazy, complicated stuff like what you see here, mixing both drywall and hardwood in the same thing, and compound mitering. So this was an example we did for the contractor explaining some of the challenges of proper compound mitering. Now this we did perfectly at the factory, and even still you can see it's off slightly. So what we've done is we actually now make custom knuckles. These knuckles are fixed at the angle per the CAD file. It does give them plus or minus 3 degrees in the job, but more importantly, see how the housing comes in? It's a straight cut. So if they need to shorten the length, they just cut it straight, connect it, and then, by the way, it will be finished the same to match the housing. The crossbolt pulls it tight so there's no light leaks, and then the lens is kept in perfect alignment, so as it wraps around the corner, it's nice and clean, and the final result is what you see here, which is fun lines, craziness, and everybody feels proud, we hope. So that was the nickel tour. I'll just open it up to questions right now.
Great tour, thank you. There are a couple in the queue. One is, what are logos and branding available on the printed lens that you showed?
Yes, it is. We're actually doing one for a news channel down in DC where we're putting their logo on it as a 6x6 logo.
Fantastic. Also, there was a question about the foam inside the housing that you showed.
Yes, our green foam that we have here, that ships in every housing. That's to keep it clean. As an aside, we do foam instead of cardboard, because we found that cardboard tended to get wet, and when it would expand, then when it would dry out, it would fall out. And thus, when the painter or mud guy came, there was nothing there to keep it clean.
Gotcha. And then just to reiterate, the contractor on that field cuttable option simply cuts off that piece, takes a picture, and then emails that back into the factory, so it saves what arguably could be 2 weeks of time getting it full dimension accurate.
Right, there's nothing to get lost, and it really gets rid of the back and forth of saying, where did you measure off of this, and did you cut it or not cut it, etc.
Excellent. Very innovative. Sounds time-saving, and what a great lot of new products. Now, just when you thought this couldn't get any better, we got our facts. We're going to head out to the dance floor now. Andale, Jesse, let's see what you got.
Hi, and welcome to ORA Shorts. Today I'll be going over the basic steps of Salsa 101 for beginners. I have gone ahead and marked the floor with Post-it notes representing the start and end positioning of the basic Salsa steps. So you begin with both feet positioned in box number 2 and 3. Step 1, move left foot forward into box 1, at the same time allowing your right foot to slightly arch forward, slightly bending your right knee inward. Step 2, bring your left foot back to box 2, shifting your weight to your left side, while then shifting your right foot back to box 4. I then shift my right foot forward to center box marked step 5, with a slight pause, also known as box 6. You can choose any song to dance salsa to, but my choice of song today was Tu Amor Me Hace Bien by Mark Anthony. Today for Salsa 101.
Thank you very much for that, Jesse. What a treat. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap. We invite you each Thursday, 12:15, and respin it at 3 o'clock to join us for these. We thank you very much for supporting O'Blaney Rinker Associates and Dado Lighting products. Please challenge these boys. They are up to the task.